And in case you didn't know, there is a man's brain and a woman's brain.
That is wrong. The idea of the male and female brain is like misogynistic neurosexism. The differences you see in male and female brains in like a brain scan are not a result of biological innate differences in the brain. They are a result of how society has shaped the brains through neuroplasticity.
Well, I learned a new word today, and that is neurosexism. Welcome to the insane blank slate ideology of far left radical feminism. It is just so crazy to me that there are people in this country who actually walk around thinking that the only reason we see differences in men and women's brains is because of just like, as she says, neuroplasticity or really external forces. So just socialization, basically. Society socializes men and women differently, arbitrarily, according to her, and then that's why we see any and all differences between male and female brains. So ridiculous. So ridiculous. It's not as though, one, there actually are inherent differences between male and female brains, and two, these brains are exposed to chemicals in your body. A man going through male puberty will have a different brain, have his brain altered in a different way than a woman going through female puberty. This is not hard. These people are insane. But again, this is not about science. This is they have their own religion, really.
Biologically, there is no such thing as a male brain and a female brain. The idea that this is bioessentialism, by the way. A lot of people will call radical feminism bioessentialism, but this idea of innate male and female brains, this is bioessentialism, essentially implying that there is a set of traits or characteristics that are inherently female, and there are a set of traits and characteristics that are inherently male. There is no male and female brain. Trans people exist because they have dysphoria. Dysphoria does not mean that your brain is the wrong sex for your body, because brains are not a organ with sexual dimorphism. I know this is something that I see a lot of trans people perpetuate, which is funny because they love to be like, Jeff's a bioessentialist, and then literally have bioessentialist views. But I digress. Again, the differences you see in brains, in brain scans, because those studies do exist, are differences as a result of the way that male brains versus female brains are socialized because of society, not differences that exist because of biology. So this person is spreading misinformation and lies. Any ideas of like the female and male brain were invented by men to put women down, to enforce this idea that women naturally belong in the kitchen, women are naturally more nurturing. This is a misogynistic perpetuation, and it's saddening and sickening to see trans people like parrot such a misogynistic statement and then be like, this is true life fact, you have a woman brain. Like, it, no, I don't. I have a brain the same way that everyone else has a brain. It is affected by, I have a brain that has been formed and shaped by female socialization, but that doesn't mean that my brain is like born like a female woman brain with these certain innate female characteristics. Like,
it's really funny hearing it's all socialization and there are no inherent differences from someone who is just one of the girliest people ever. Totally not serious. Seems completely immature. This is really the mindset people need to have to prepare the world for the Great Reset. You know, humanity is a blank slate, and everyone is just plastic putty in the hands of our transhuman overlords to be manipulated by technology in whatever way they want. Because only someone as clueless as this is ready to own nothing and be happy about it.
I don't know if you guys have seen the insanely sexist Washington Post op-ed, but it is driving me crazy.
Man, you know you're in for a good video when a Washington Post article is apparently too sexist.
I saw the tweet first. Immediately I have questions. First off, what is American marriage? Second, why should I want it? Third, are there tangible consequences for Gen Z women if their government is overtaken by, say, far-right men? Finally, why should she want to be with someone who doesn't care about those consequences?
American marriage is just referring to the institution of marriage in America. Also, there is no one far right in government right now, or even close to taking over government right now. You should want this because your place is to serve a man. And the best thing that 99.9% of women could ever even hope to amount to is to be a wife and mother. Not to be an activist, not to be a politician, not to being a girl boss climbing the corporate ladder, but a wife and mother. That is what women are supposed to do. Your body is designed to incubate a child. And if you abandon the institution of marriage, the one institution binding you to the man who impregnated you with that child, then the child will grow up without a father, and that is no good. And not having kids or something as an alternative option isn't good either. Because pairing up with someone of the opposite sex and starting a family is a natural milestone that 99.9% of people are meant to experience, or else they will live unfulfilling, unproductive lives. They will be in arrested development.
The actual article was written by the Washington Post editorial board, which makes everything I'm about to say that much worse. Like how the board tried to illustrate an ideological gap between Gen Z men and women, except they only talked about white Gen Zers. Considering that barely half of Gen Z is white and more legislation is targeting Black and brown Americans, it kind of feels like a big oversight. Unless, of course, you only care about white marriage, which would be weird.
Are we seriously insinuating here that the Washington Post, of all publications, is some sort of secret racist white identity outlet? Like, come on, think about this for a moment. Black marriage as an institution isn't that much of a thing, sadly, and that's kind of a given, unfortunately. I guess it is kind of an odd choice they didn't also focus on Hispanics, but really, think about what this woman is suggesting for 2 seconds, and you'll see how ridiculous it is.
The main thesis of the piece, though, is that Americans can no longer debate the real issues, and to make marriage work, someone has to compromise. I don't want to debate my dignity and private medical decisions with Trevor from Hinge. That's just not appealing to me.
And any sane man will not put up with an obnoxious shrew. Also, it's hilarious she admits she's finding guys off Hinge, and assumes that the audience of this video is also trying to find guys off Hinge.
Honestly, why would any woman want to marry someone who actively contributes to her own oppression? No thank you. To be fair, it doesn't explicitly say that liberal women should be the ones to compromise, but let's be real. If you hate abortion and love Tucker Carlson and think electric vehicles will shrink your balls or whatever, it's not like you're gonna listen to your naggy girlfriend.
Nor should you, because nagging girlfriends have never been right in history about anything ever. That is a fact. I actively ignore mine, and I'm pretty sure it's what keeps my teeth white. Also, women are not oppressed because they can't murder their own children in some states.
And even besides that, women are always the ones expected to compromise. And Gen Z is sick of it. Why do I have to compromise for your garbage views?
Because actually your views are garbage and women are higher in trait agreeableness?
Why should anyone feel obligated to somebody who thinks personhood is conditional? I'm sorry you can't feel empathy, but that is not my problem. And if you think that marriage is dependent on you sacrificing your most basic principles, why do you care about it so much in the first place?
These should not be your basic principles, and women like this really show you why relationships in this country are failing. She is honestly acting like she's speaking to the default woman off the street, and she's probably not very far off the mark. Even in rural conservative areas, plenty of women are still abortionists who think they have the right to murder their own children, and have a problem with you, or alternatively their boyfriends or family, if they take issue with that.
Yeah, look, dating apps suck when you're a woman trying to date other women. I've never had much luck on them, to be honest. Every single date I went on of a woman that I met on a dating app was the worst. But I've had very good relationships and hookups, whatever, with women that I've met through other parts of my life. I just don't think dating apps are where it is at for anyone, ever. And I think that if you're oh, I just prefer dating men because they're more available, it just kind of tells me that you're constantly looking for someone to date, and that's a whole different issue, to be honest. If you're not trying to date someone that you actually like, and you're just trying to date someone because, like, they're there and there's someone to date. Like, yeah, okay, look, dating apps are not going to be great for women trying to date other women, but that's not, like, a thing unique to bisexuals. Like, lesbians have to deal with that too, and we make it work. So, no excuses. But yeah, I will admit that it is dire out there. Also, men have much better pickup lines. I know this because sometimes I put my Hinge to allow men, because I think it's funny to see what they say. Women should up their game a little bit more there. I do agree, but that's not an excuse.
Almost like women are naturally inclined to waiting around to be approached and not approaching others. I even heard one of my own cousins make a comment similar to the commenter in this woman's video. She was like, "Oh man, I was open to dating a girl on this one app, but none of them made a first move." And the whole time I was thinking to myself, yeah, because you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Motivational TikTok for girls and motivational TikTok for guys is completely different. Because on the girl side, it sounds like this.
You're the prize. You're the queen. Yes, queen. Be in your feminine area as you should. Ooh, look at you, girl. Get your lace done. Look at your booty. Do your thing, baby boo. You don't need a man. But if you do get a man, he has to be a rich man. I love doing well, rich.
And then men motivational TikTok sounds like this.
You're weak. You gotta get off your ass. You ain't got no money. You ain't got no beat. You don't drive a Bentley. How many Bugattis you got? What color's your Bugatti? You gotta hit the gym. Get your life back together, nigga. What if John Cena slaps your mama? What you gonna do? Nothing, cause you're a weak ass. Punk ass. Built like an anorexic Jada Picker Smith looking ass. Too broke to get free stuff. Look at you. You ain't got no money. Get your bag up. Wake up at 5 a.m. and go to sleep never. Cause what you mean? Sleep is for the weak.
Women will never understand this and never know what it takes to be a man.
Do I really regret getting my coochie? Let's talk about it. Yes, I still dilate every day. What is dilating? These are medical tools to keep the space open they gave me. Yes, it is very painful. Got my surgery 3 years ago today, so I should be dilating every week at this point. Because of the multiple complications I had, I dilate every day now. I got the original oldest method, so there are ups and downs. You guys need to understand that this was not a choice for me to get it. I had to get it. But I exchanged this everyday suffering for what I had before? Not in a million years. What I had before was not me. I had more internal suffering with what I had before than right now. Dysphoria for trans people is indescribable. If I could go back and choose the newer technique, would I? Yes. Everything I did was to get rid of my dysphoria, but now I have a problem in my hands, which I wasn't supposed to get in the first place. You would think after I would get the surgery, I would stop crying myself to sleep. I guess this is happening for a reason, and I need to think why this is happening. My mom taught me growing up, everything happens for a reason. There's always a message behind whatever is happening. I hope you guys understand more what's going on with me. I wish people would understand that we get these surgeries done because we don't feel right, not because we want to be something we're not. Love you guys.
And that's the issue, really. You shouldn't not feel right in your own body. The answer to this is still not mutilating your own genitals. I can't stress this enough. The answer to this problem, the answer to you not feeling right in your own body, isn't self-mutilation. But some people just can't seem to wrap their heads around that.
That's a fact that there are detransitioners. What is not a fact is that there's some kind of this epidemic with all of these detransitioners. When you look at it, what are the overall regret rates? Regret rate for transition is lower than the regret rate for knee surgery. They've done surveys with surgeons who perform these surgeries, and they find that the regret rate is astronomically low. The detransition rate is not this massive thing like this epidemic. However, that doesn't mean that people who detransition are not valid. It doesn't mean that people who have been diagnosed wrongly should have their voices shut down.
Suicide rate's very high. We don't know the numbers yet.
Hold on.
I mean, that's everyone.
The suicide rate is high for trans people primarily because of external reasons.
Not because of transitioning.
Which is another thing that's really interesting is conservatives say trans people are bad and invalid, and then trans people commit suicide, and they say, oh, look, trans people are bad because they commit suicide. It's like, no, you just did that. You guys did that, because when you constantly perpetuate... When you constantly perpetuate,
the way they're treated in society.
How are they treated?
Yeah, they're the most protected.
They're not. Trans people are victimized by violent crime at higher rates. They're kicked out of their homes at higher rates.
You say it's primarily for external reasons, and then I hear from the horse's mouth that it's not an option, that they don't get this surgery. Why could it be that it's not an option that these people don't get this surgery? Oh, because otherwise they're at risk of hurting themselves. These are not external factors. These are internal factors. If you hate your own body enough to sincerely believe that you should be the opposite sex, then catching the bus isn't far around the corner. This is a very dark state of mind to be in. Tell me, Hunter, does true happiness come from sticking a plastic thingamabob into your inverted penis so it doesn't close up?
What is a woman?
Yeah, a woman is somebody whose internal perception aligns with what we culturally view as being feminine.
What if that cultural view involves being an actual biological woman? What if that cultural view involves having a real vagina?
That's why wearing clothing, talking a certain way, fitting into a certain role does not determine whether or not you are a woman. That's also why experience does not determine whether or not you are a woman. It comes down to an internal perception you have of yourself.
If I internally perceive that I am a koala, am I then a koala?
Keep in mind that internal perception is shaped by an external factor, which is the socially constructed view of gender that we have. The minute you're born, you're socialized into certain behaviors, certain roles, and yes, certain aesthetics as well. That shapes an internal perception you have of yourself as well. So there's nothing about your biology that makes it or dictates that you are going to wear a dress or even wear your hair long or talk a certain way or fit into a certain category or social role. Just like I could be a Christian and I have an internal perception, I have an internal belief, and I don't ever have to go to church, and I would still be a Christian because it's not based on behavior or external aesthetic.
This definition of woman that Hunter is attempting to give will always and forever be inherently less stable and precise than just saying that a woman is an adult human female. All these language games these leftists play are to avoid this essential fact. And the consequence of their behavior is that countless people will be talked into mutilating their perfectly functioning genitals. Anyway, to wrap this video up, let's focus on a little bit more of a light-hearted TikTok.
I need you to do me a favor and name a woman. Any woman.
Right now?
Just name a woman.
Susan B. Anthony.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know about you, but that always makes me chuckle. Anyway, that's it for this video, and Red Channels will catch you in the next one.